Welcome. I'm Pen, and today we're going to cover how I took on this insane challenge, making from scratch a game in just 100 hours. That's right, from concept to code, art to audio, everything in just 100 hours. Let's cover it. Let's start off with the idea. It's the first thing you need when you start making a game, and I want to do something fun, simple, and hopefully a little addicting. Idle games are in right now, and I've been loving them, and they seem pretty easy, right? That's when I had this idea to make this chaotic spell manipulating, casting idle game. The idea is to level up your hero, unlock spells, and then find loot that manipulates and changes your spells. Keep it simple, stupid. Day one, in the first 6 hours, my goal was to get the base of the game set up, player movement, enemies spawning, a level up system, and a passable UI layout. This was all fairly easy and just a tad time consuming, but I got it all done and I was happy with it. The game was sort of a game at this point. Day two, the next 6 hours, my goal was to figure out a spellcasting system. I wanted to try out a drag and drop system where you could drag the spell onto the screen and then it would cast the spell. I've never done that before. It wasn't too bad, but I spent a fair amount of time squashing bugs that came with it. I ended up being pretty happy with it and made 3 fire spells that could be copied and pasted later on to do other spells. My goal was to have 16 spells, but I ended up with 12. 3 fire, 3 water, 3 earth, and 3 air spells. Each element has a low MP spell with a short cooldown, a large AoE spell that does various things like poison, pushback, and leaves burning flames, and the final spell is a support spell, like gives you a massive dodge or armor buff for a few seconds. The next 8 hours were probably my least favorite of the 100 hours. Again, I tried tackling something I've never done before by making an inventory system where you can drag and equip items. I had to follow tutorials for this and tweak it to my liking, and most of the day was spent squashing bugs. At the end of the day, I was pretty happy with it, but it was far from perfect. I made 7 equipment slots, 1 for a weapon, helmet, chest, belt, boots, amulet, and a gauntlet. Each piece of equipment gives basic stats like HP or an element damage type buff, but some give unique abilities that I've been calling triggers, and these triggers manipulate your spells and add new mechanics to them. At this point, I was planning to have the game finished in a week, but I had a wonderful Christmas surprise and had my second son early. It was sweet, but meant this project was put on hold for a little bit. These were the zombie days I've been calling. It was over the holidays with a newborn, and I had no real schedule or routine. I was tired, but when I had the chance, I would do a quick session here and there that was mainly just adding a new item or a new spell. I did this for weeks, and it was actually quite enjoyable. Throughout these sessions that combined for almost 20 hours, I had made a bulk of the equipment and almost all the spells, so it was pretty efficient. At this point, I had a lot of things in the game, but I really wanted to polish the loop. The loop was basically you die, restart, and everything is reset, which is pretty lame for an idle game. To fix this, I created this timeline at the top of the screen. It tracks the amount of enemies needed to be killed until you reach the next stage, and once you reach the next stage, enemies become stronger and loot becomes better. I wanted to really customize this and have random events happen throughout each timeline, but I ran out of time. Regardless, it's a simple addition that adds so much to the loop. On top of that, I made it so when you die, you keep everything, your level, equipment, and spells. This makes sense for an idle game. You check back here and there, see what loot you've accumulated, and carry on with your day. At this point in development, I was pretty overwhelmed. I had so many little things to fix and test, and polishing the game loop was eating up so much time. That's when I decided to call in some help to start testing. I sent the game to a few Discord members, and it was so helpful. After a day of testing, they compiled a list of bugs, improvements, suggestions, but most importantly, they all loved it. And here's some words each of them said. This was insanely motivating, and in the next 16 hours, I had tackled all the bugs they caught and added in most of the improvements and quality of life features. With 29 hours remaining, I knew I had to start adding sounds, music, and replacing a lot of the placeholder art. At this point, I had 0 music and 0 sounds. I spent way too long searching for music, like way too long. Eventually, I landed on the sick little 8-bit track. And then I added a bunch of 8-bit sound effects. And then I started polishing on some animations like this boss animation and this rock animation. And then I added a save and load system, which is boring and it sucked to do, but it works. So grateful to have today's video sponsored by Skillshare. If you don't already know, Skillshare is the largest online community for creatives. It is everything. I was blown away with the variety and wide range of classes like art and animation, pixel art courses, Blender courses, and all kinds of game dev courses. And since I made a game in 100 hours, I cannot stress about the enormous number of tutorials on game development with Skillshare. It has all the big names: Godot, Unity, Unreal Engine. I can't stress this enough. These are complete tutorials. They don't just stop halfway through. They're from scratch and take you all the way to the end. If you are someone wanting to get into game development, use this 1 month free trial. I highly recommend Skillshare, and in fact, the first 500 people to use this link in the description will receive 1 month free trial of Skillshare. So you can try it out and see if it's something you like while supporting the channel and leveling up your skills. And one last thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. With all that completed, I had less than 10 hours to add some finishing touches like this grass you can interact with, these cute birds you can interact with, and some setting toggles. And with the clock hitting 0, I found myself amazed by the final outcome. I created a game with a cute charm and felt it captured the idle adventure I had planned from the start. I called the game Ornoga, which means eagle eye in Swedish, because that's what my son has been calling it. You can currently play the 100-hour version of Ornoga on itch.io and GD Games right now. With all the amazing feedback from friends, testers, and even successful developers, I knew I had to take this further. That's why I'm officially bringing Ornoga to Steam. And the best thing you can do right now is wishlist the game. It seriously helps more than you know. To wrap things up, here's the Ornoga trailer, giving you a glimpse of what's ahead. Thanks so much for your support. This is Ornoga. Ornoga is an idle game that lets you embark on a magical adventure, master powerful spells, and collect epic loot, all while the game plays itself. Your character automatically moves, fights enemies, and progresses even while you're not actively playing. Customize your journey by selecting spells to autocast and equipping your hero with the best gear. Set Ornoga on a separate monitor and let the adventure unfold while you work, browse, or watch video. However, if you prefer a more hands-on approach, you can jump in at any time and take full control of your character. Move freely, cast spells, and manage your inventory. The full version of Ornoga will expand the adventure with new biomes, powerful characters, unique passives, loyal mercenaries, and much more. Wishlist Ornoga right now on Steam.